So the words and the tone and the nonverbal, if all three don't agree, then there's a disconnect in the message between you and me.
Welcome to the Betty Rocker Show, the place to be to nourish your mind, love your body, and rock your life. What's up, rock stars? Coach Betty Rocker here. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking to body language expert Linda Clemons, and we're going to get into those parts of communication that are nonverbal. All those times we need to draw on our intuition to help us decode what people actually mean. Maybe you'd like to know how to tell if someone is lying or telling the truth. Or maybe you'd like to consciously use your own body language to build more trust in your relationships or show up more confidently at work so you get noticed for that big promotion. These are just some examples of how we can use body language to give us the edge when it comes to communicating. Linda Clemons is the CEO of Sisterpreneur, and she's a global speaker and expert on the subjects of sales and nonverbal communication. Some of her clients are huge brands like Louis Vuitton, Microsoft, Twitter, Major League Baseball, and many more. I have had the privilege of seeing Linda in action and was even an example in one of her live talks. It's really amazing to witness how she seems to be reading the minds of everyone in the room with her ability to decipher body language. She's here today to break down some of her tips and tricks and leave you with some actionable steps you can use right away to crack the body language code. Get ready to take notes and join me in welcoming her to the show. Linda, it is such a treat to have you here with us today. Thank you so much.
My sister from another mister, the joy is within me. I thank you for having me in your space.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, the amount of wisdom that you have shared out there in our cultural context already is tremendous. And I know that our listeners, if they haven't been exposed to your work yet, are going to be eager to go look you up after they hear from you today, because us as women can really benefit from learning ways to develop more confidence in our self-presentation, whether that's through fitness or meditation or more self-awareness. And you just have this amazing ability that I know you've honed over time to really help us uncover the hidden messages in our body language. Please tell us a little bit more about why this is such an important aspect of communication.
Thank you so much for that wonderful and generous question. You know, the nonverbal communication is our first language. It was there before we were able to speak a word. So even as babies, it goes back to primitive time. We would grunt and make sounds. You know, as a little baby, you cry, someone would pick you up, change you, feed you, love you, and you made those sounds. So it was later on when we began to develop the speech, the language to be able to communicate. The reason why body language is so important, because the moment that you are thinking about something, and this is important for everyone that's listening. So whether you're a coach, whether you're a leader, whether you're a mother, you are a business owner, entrepreneur, corporate person, it doesn't matter. The moment that you think about it, it comes about. And when I say come about, it comes about from the mind to the matter. And it only takes a split second. And so it's the part of our brain, Bree, that controls all of that, the limbic system, you know, which is so critical. So how many times if you are thinking about someone and you smile, the moment that you think about it, then you smile. Nothing was said. You're just thinking about that person. It can change our emotional state. And how many times have either, as someone out there, you've called a good friend and you called them up, just like I say, call Bree. Bree, how you doing, sis? And your vocal tone, or there's something about you over the phone, you may say you're okay, but you're not. I'll say, were you lying down? Yeah, I'm just lying down. It changes your voice and it changes your mood, but I know something else is going on. So even if I see you in person and you say, I'm doing great, if your body language and your tone is not congruent, if all three, the words, the tone, and the nonverbal, if they don't agree, then there's a disconnect in the message between you and me. So, thus the saying, action speaks louder than words. And I've got to tell you and share this with your audience. One of my favorite quotes is by Emerson, and it goes something like this: I cannot hear what you are saying because who you are being is getting in the way. Oh,
Ooh. Ooh, that's good. Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. So we're making this connection between the limbic system and our intuition, I feel, because and would you unpack a little bit more about this amazing limbic system for us? Just because I love all the science of the body and how it works.
absolutely.
It's so cool.
Absolutely. So think about this. Now, remember the quote again. Hold on to that. I cannot hear what you're saying because who you are being is getting in the way. So just imagine, let's take a little part of the brain called the amygdala,
Mm.
and sometimes known as the reptilian part of the brain. The reason why? There's a reason why reptiles don't make good pets, because they live in that fear part of the brain. So just imagine you're home alone, you hear a noise, and all of a sudden you freeze. Wow. The reason why you freeze, because you want to make sure that if I move, someone's going to see me, they're going to catch me. Every animal in the animal kingdom does this. So we freeze. So what happens? You freeze because the fear begins to set in. So you freeze, fear, flight, and then fight if your back is up against the wall. So why is the amygdala important to us as we communicate, be it for men, for women? It's so critical. How many times have you met someone and you want to do business with the person? They look good on paper, and Bree, you're having that great meeting, and then all of a sudden, Bree, you meet them for the very first time, and then you're thinking, looks good on paper, the offer is great. Oh, there's something about this person. I don't know what it is. That is your limbic system, your amygdala, sending radar warning. Because when we meet people, the first thing that we're thinking about is this person going to be friend or foe? Friend or foe? Because it's part of us protecting ourselves. And that's why the amygdala is so important. There are different parts of the brain, like the midbrain, where we feel good. It's the feel good. So when your favorite music is on, or you're taking that wonderful hot bath after a great workout, or you're walking on the beach and you're feeling good, or you hear your favorite, that's the midbrain. Why is that important? Because that's the part of the brain when you are connecting with another person, you are persuading another person, you are selling another person, you want them to feel good. No one is going to say yes unless a weapon or their lives are threatened. They're not going to say yes to your offer, your opportunity, or your invitation while they're in their amygdala.
Oh,
It's very important.
this is so interesting in so many ways, because when I think about the substance abuse, whether it's from legal or illegal substances, and how they target different parts of the brain and they lower our inhibitions, they change the way we respond to other people's body language. They may lower our ability to listen to our true intuition. This is just something that came to my mind when you were talking about the different parts of the brain and how important it is that we do listen to our intuition and that we have a true connection to our intuition. And I think a lot about, ways we tune the limbic system by meditation or by grounding activities, things that help us get really more clarity within ourselves. And that when we disconnect and we're not paying attention to being in our body and being in tune with our body and ourselves, it's really easy to either be overwhelmed by the signals that can come at us, or misconstrue the signals that come at us. And I think a lot about social media and a lot about sales tactics that prey on our fears and things that might interrupt our ability to use our intuition and our ability to communicate and understand the signals we're receiving. Is that something we should be a little cautious of?
Bree, you are 100% on the money. How many times you'll have someone say, you should do this. Someone says you should do this, and you're hearing this on the radio, then you're watching television, then social media, you should do it. But all at the same time, that intuition, that gut feeling is telling you what to do. But yet you feel conflicted because many of the people that are telling you, say if it's your mother, your brother, your sister, your uncle, whatever, you figure, well, those people are close to my mind and my heart. Where a stranger may think, well, maybe they may know something. I don't know, or a friend. And everyone in social media is doing, but yet at the same time, something is telling you. And that's the part of your amygdala and your intuition dancing together to say, girlfriend or my brother, slow down,
Oh, yes.
slow down. It's
So,
critical. It's the barometer.
so critical. And I think about this a lot in fitness. I know that there are a lot of women who follow me and listen to me, but they also listen to a lot of other people, and they express very often their frustration at the competing and mixed messages out there. And we get this in body language. We get this in all of the messages that we're bombarded by, and people's body language can lie, or people's words can lie, and maybe their body language tells us something else. So how can we spot the lies and the truth? How can we tell when something's really, truly genuine? How do you?
Bree, this is so good. Oh my gosh. So on this interview, if they were able to see you, they already know without me looking at you, but they already know who you are. That's why they keep coming back to you. They're drawn to you. And let me tell you why. So in nonverbal communication, let's talk about a couple of things here. I'm going to give you three things. I'm going to give your audience three things. And maybe if they're really good, because I love you, Bree, I may give them a bonus. So let's talk about when reading nonverbal communication. Let's talk about the baseline. So everyone, if you're taking copious notes, and I know every time you listen to this show, you do that because you're learning and you're getting nuggets and gold and diamonds. Let's talk about the baseline. So when you think of baseline, think of baseball in the word baseline. Knowing a person's baseline is who they are under normal circumstance without any stress, who they are. So if I come into the room and say someone else is in the room and they don't know me, and I'm coming in just to sing in and just having a good time, and people are like looking like, why is she singing? And you would say, oh, that's just Linda. She does that all the time. That's who she is. That's her norm. So when I use the word baseline, that's someone's norm, who they are under normal circumstance without any stress. Okay, now you know their baseline. In reading nonverbal communication, your first mini step is, because people always ask me, Linda, can you tell if someone's lying? Yeah, you can tell if they're being deceptive or holding back information because they give off cues. But I want you to listen very carefully. The first C is this, is to read the nonverbals in clusters. Clusters. And Linda, when you say clusters, what I mean, more than one movement. So if we were doing a presentation, or you're doing a presentation out there listening in front of a crowd, and they see your beautiful, magnificent, powerful face, and you say, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited. The words are saying it, but you are folding your arms. Whoa, that's a mixed message. Now, so you say, I'm excited to be here. Imagine your arms being folded, but imagine this. Then all of a sudden you start rubbing your shoulders, like a little chilly. Now, that was the first movement, was your arms folded. The second movement, that you start rubbing them because you were chilly. And the next thing you know, you grab the coat, a sweater. 3 movements there. But what happens, my lovelies, what happens, powerful people, if you walked out of that room and judged the person off the first movement? So I tell all my master students, what's critical is to see as many clusters as you possibly can, because see, that allows us to prejudge people when we don't. Just because if you're not smiling and I'm talking to you and you're just sitting there, just looking straight ahead, I'm going to say, oh my gosh, maybe she's just not personable. She's just disconnected. But what if you just got off the phone and received some bad news? You're in another state. So look how we judge people. So part of the thing you want to remember, the first C, is to watch for clusters. And again, I'm going to give you one more example. How many of you have children? Or have you ever been a child before? Everybody's had you. Come on. So remember this. Imagine you have a daughter, a son that comes home from school every day, routine. You know their baseline. Mm-hmm. They come in, take off the backpack, Bree, go to the refrigerator, get a little snack. Then they get on the computer. They do it every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then all of a sudden you notice that Friday, they come straight in the house, straight to the room and shut the door. Automatically, you go into your Scooby-Doo. Then the second day, or that following Monday, they do the same thing. They're out of their baseline. Now you discover, you start asking questions, You find out that maybe the child was bullied. But your first sign was when he or she was out of their baseline. So it's very important so that we won't judge. And we take the quote by the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, be open to everything, but attached to nothing. Okay, so remember that. So first C is clusters. The second C in reading nonverbal is to make sure that there's congruency. So we have clusters and congruency. So Linda, what do you mean by congruency? Congruency in their words, in their tonality, and in their body language. So if you say to your loved one, and you could practice this for fun, if you say to your loved one, you know, I love you very much. I really, really do. I think we can make this relationship work. And your hands are folded and you're turned away from them. Number one, the tone wasn't there. The words were, but the tone wasn't there. And definitely the body language wasn't there. So if the words and the tone and the nonverbal, here's a little soundbite for you. If all three don't agree, then there's a disconnect in the message, Bree, between you and me. Mm-hmm. Wow, the words, the tone, the nonverbal. Makes sense, right? So we said clusters, we said congruency, and the last C is context. Imagine, I know we're in the wintertime, but just close your eyes and imagine a warm day, and I'm talking about a very warm day, like 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside. That's warm. But what happens if we're doing an outdoor event and I come to the event in a full length, faux fur, or winter gear in the summertime? That's out of context. So when it's out of context, it sends a signal. When it's out of context, when you're going on a long trip, say to Europe, and all your girls, you're checking in, you've got all kinds of luggage, all the beautiful clothes, I've got all kinds of luggage. And what happens is next thing you know, our friend walks up, no carry-on, no check-in luggage. And the flight is 20 hours, Bree. We're going to whisper to each other, what's going on? And that's what's happened to many people who you've heard maybe in the news that have, did something naughty or bad with planes and everything else. Those were one of the signs. They had nothing. They weren't traveling like the regular traveler because they were focused on their mission. So remember, in reading nonverbals with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your clients, your prospects, watch for those 3 C's. Clusters, congruency in their words and their tone and their nonverbal, all 3 are matching. And of course, the right context. I'm not going to walk in a swimsuit unless I'm pitching a bathing suit or doing an audition for a bathing suit competition in a corporate meeting. So watch for those 3 C's. And because this is Bree's audience, and because you are fabulous, the 4th C would be culture. There's a saying that goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You don't want to stand out. You want to stand in and fit in. And just the different hand gestures that we make can be insulting to other cultures. So imagine here in the United States, for those that are listening, because I know your viewership is all over the world, but in the United States, when we make the A-OK sign, that means that's A-OK. But in other parts of the world, it's very offensive. So when we talk about different cultures, respecting cultures, in US, eye contact is acceptable 85% of the time. Other cultures, it could be deemed disrespectful. So understand, and even in Asian cultures, they look at the neck area. Ladies, you're out there, that right between just that little dimple that you have, that little love cup that you have, right there, that's called the suprasternal notch. And quite often we stroke that when we're nervous or we want to self-pacify. But in Japanese culture, they look at that area rather than directly in the eye.
This is so interesting too about the neck, of course, because it's a very vulnerable area. So if we're feeling a little unsure of ourselves or we're feeling vulnerable, we place our hand there to protect ourselves. That's a really interesting physical cue that people use subconsciously. And I'm stroking my chin now because I'm like, this is my scholarly interested face, because I'm very interested in all of these topics. And I was writing down all of the different C's while Linda was saying them. And that's something that's really interesting, because say you're in a meeting at work and you're on a Zoom call, which is very common at this time in our culture, and your boss is talking on the Zoom call, but you are taking notes, and people are thinking that you aren't actually paying attention because you're sitting there looking down at either your phone or your notes, or you're looking at your keyboard because you're typing. Well, if your boss is good at reading the cues, they're going to use all of the cues that Linda just talked about and not assume just from one part of the communication that you're not paying attention to them. And that might be distracting, right? But that's something that I feel like all of us can use as well, because when we're thinking about the context, about someone's baseline and about the cluster, I really liked the cluster because that really takes away that assumption factor that lets us tune into empathy and think that we don't know what someone is thinking or how their day has been going. We can't assume. We don't know, right? And we also don't know about this is something that I think a lot about when I read and listen to you speak. It's about the trauma history, or about the history of struggles that people have gone through that have informed the nonverbal communication that they're presenting to you with, that they are not aware of. And that sometimes, how can we look beyond that nonverbal communication that comes from pain and hardship and loss, and because the cues that we're going to get are going to be incongruent in these contexts at times. So I love this cluster idea, because not only do we want to look at the cluster of things that someone is presenting us with, but we also want to take into context their congruency, the cultural norms that they came from. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. And I think that I'm thinking a lot about this just in.
But you know what, Bree, what I appreciate about you, and just from your language earlier, your EQ is probably very, very high, your emotional intelligence. So if you ever have a chance to take that EQ test, yours is very high, because the first thing you were saying was regarding, you never know what a person has gone through. That's someone that's stepping out of themselves and putting themselves in another person's shoes. So one of the things that I want everyone to think about, and what you just said, Bree, when you look at another person, you want to ask yourself, that person has a history. They're in your present, and they have a future. And when you think about their history, their present, their future, ask yourself this: I wonder what their story is. I wonder what their journey is, because behind every emotion, there's a story attached to it. And if we get to know that person, this helps us move beyond the gender, move beyond the ethnicity. It helps us move beyond the skin color, their financial background, whatever, and be able to see beneath the surface. One of the things that I want to do, and when I teach classes, I want to teach people to be able to see the invisible. And hear the inaudible. Quite often I get accused of, in a nice way, when I'm doing live presentations, people ask me, are you psychic? Are you highly intuitive? And because when I'm in that person's presence, I'm 100% present. And that's the thing. So when you listen to the point with such joy, and you're leaning in, and make note of this now, make note of this. When we lean in, we always talk about the power lean, and there's books on leaning in. When we lean into things that we are interested in, or curious about, or perhaps even like, or want to get closer to, and away from things that we don't. That's why when someone says something to you, you don't believe what they said. You say, I can't believe the person said that. And I was taken aback. You never say, I was taken forward. I wasn't taken forward. You say, I was taken aback. Automatically. So when something shocks you, your brain doesn't have to think twice about it. If you're like, oh my gosh, you're surprised about something, oh my gosh. But if you're interested in something and you're listening to a speaker, be it that they're on the stage or in your presence or on video, and you're doing the Zoom meetings and you're doing your Zoom presentations, where you are zooming like a rock star, because you're in virtual presentations where you're getting your audience to really shift with their body language and lean in, because they're showing interest. And studies also show we would try to lean away from someone that we don't feel comfortable around. You wouldn't just go right into the lion's den. You wouldn't do that. So you lean away, but you're getting closer to someone that you may have an interest in. So if I'm sitting on a plane and the person that sits down beside me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if he doesn't look like Matthew McConaughey or Denzel, hi, I'm leaning right towards them. And how are you? Where are you traveling? But if something appear to be offensive, what do? We move away. We turn in an angle. Think about when you're on a plane next time. Think about when you don't want to be bothered. Think about when you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. I don't want anyone to talk to me. Well, what do? Do you get up and announce on the plane, hey, everybody, before we take off, I do not want anyone to talk to me. No, what you do, you're sitting in your seat and you're angling your body. Am I right, Bree? Like you're going to go to sleep. You're turning away from the person. You're breaking the connection without saying a word. So it's powerful. And just being aware, what you just said, of other people's feelings, their stories, their struggles, even more so now in the environment that we are in.
Yes.
It changed the whole landscape.
And I think that the heart of being able to develop and deepen, because we all are empathetic beings, and at the heart of being able to deepen your empathy and reading and intuiting the people that you're interacting with and having better communication with them is to start first by understanding the signals you yourself are putting out and where they come from. And this is why I've been so intrigued by your work, one of the many reasons, because I'm always fascinated, like, what am I putting out? Like, am I congruently expressing what I mean, or am I showing too much? Like, what if I'm in a situation where I want to make the other person comfortable, but maybe I want to keep something in reserve? Maybe, all of these ways that we have of communicating, and what am I expressing that I'm not even aware that I'm expressing, that I might not really mean to be expressing. These are all things that I think, even especially as women, having that deeper self-awareness and being able to really understand how to express ourselves in line with our intentions, and not to have anything kind of that we don't mean to be putting out there. It can be really helpful in our workplace, in our relationships with others. I'd just love for you to speak to that a little bit, of how we can develop a deeper connection with our own selves and how we express.
Thank you, Bree. I appreciate that. One of the things that I have observed about you, that you speak, and just I when I think of you, I think and hear your voice, I hear meditation. So your voice is always in that register that it's almost melodic, and this is you, Bree, almost very soothing. And so it invites someone in. It invites someone to feel comfortable. The key thing with that is it puts the person in a connection and a rapport with you. Now, on the flip side, let's say that you are in an important meeting and you are doing a presentation, and there's going to be a change that takes place. And we are very serious about this change. And it's going to take place effectively the end of the week. If you say in the beautiful melodic tone, and this is very critical, so ladies and gentlemen, there are going to be some changes that are going to take place in our company. And we're going to have to make those changes effectively next Friday at 4:00. Because the tone is so soothing, the way the ear processes it, they may not hear the seriousness or the urgency. So when Bree goes into a different tone, takes her head rather than tilted to the side in her emotional realm, she brings her head up level. How many of you heard the term, keep a level head? That's the chin up, looking straight ahead. And she lowers her register and says, okay, team. Okay, we've worked hard. There's a few changes that are going to take place effectively next Saturday or next Friday. Just changing the vocal tone alone lets people know. It sends a signal immediately to the brain. Okay, tone change. She's serious. And there's an urgency about it. So it's very, very important. Think about this. Think about that special someone in your life, and you're trying to be upset. You're trying to be mad because he or she didn't do what they were supposed to do. And they come over and they try to kiss you. And you say, stop. Now, when I say stop like that, do I mean it? Just from the, but what if I did this, Bree? Stop. I'm saying the words. I'm saying the words, but the tone is not congruent. Oh, wow. Stop. Stop. No, no. See, that makes a big difference. So even in your presentations, the voice, that's like I remember just growing up when my mother would say, don't let me have to tell you one more time. It was that tone that we know. So it's very, very critical. One of the things that you do naturally, and I think it's because of the fitness of our temple and our body and taking care of your power zones are open. So your audience is listening. This is Linda. Okay, wait a minute. We're writing power zones down. What are they? So here are your power zones. Please take note. The throat area. Remember, we talked about that little dimple area. The throat area, the heart, the belly button. By the way, the navel is the first connection to another human being through the umbilical cord. Wow. So imagine when you turn away from someone, it's like giving them the hand with your body dismissal. Okay. And the reproductive area. Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about the heart. And when my sister Bree expresses herself, her power zones are constantly open. She's exposing her heart. How many of you, when you're sharing with someone and something that's special to you, and they're asking you and they're trying to get close, and you're a little sensitive or your heart might have been broken? Think about this. If your heart was broken and I introduce you to another person, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the person for you. I'm matchmaking here. But if your heart is broken and that individual has characteristics or traits that remind you of your last lover, guess what you will do unconsciously? You begin to talk to him or her with your arms folded because you are guarding your heart. Wow. So if you're speaking from the heart, why are you blocking it? So if you're talking with your hands and using hand gestures and you're speaking from the heart, take your hands, and those that are listening, here's the way you can practice. Take your hands, palms towards your heart, and open them up like a door, open up wide with the palms exposed. Wow, like a little butterfly. Let's try it again. I know you're out there doing it. Hands towards the heart, palms towards you, and open it up. Open it up, open up your hands. So now you're welcoming to your heart. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, if you're talking to someone and closing the door, they can't get in.
Well, you just said something so important that harkens back to that Wayne Dyer quote that you gave us. You know, like you were talking about how our past experiences shade our body language in ways that aren't fair for the person we're talking to, because they're not that past person, right? And here we are closing ourselves off, closing off our heart in many occasions because we've been hurt in the past. And that's not wrong of us. That's just something we need to develop more awareness of so that we can overcome that behavior, that body language behavior, so that we can hear what this brand new person is actually saying. Now, it might be that you need to tune into your 4 C's because maybe this person has some of the same issues that your last partner had. You know, we don't know. You need to be using those 4 C's to sort of uncover that context, the cluster of their behavior, because maybe your intuition is dinging because it really is a problem, or maybe it's dinging because you had a problem in the past, and only you can uncover that with your amazing gifts and controlling your body language.
And Bree, that's so good because, and maybe you may still be in the middle of the hurt.
Yes.
You may still be in the middle of the pain. You know, a friend of mine had said, she said to me, she says, I'm starting a new life. It's a new me. I'm going to do me in 22, and I'm going to find true love, because she broke up with her boyfriend about a few months ago and she started dating someone else. But I knew she was not over him. I just knew. How did I know? Watch what happened. When I said to her, she says, you know what? I've got a new guy in my life and I'm liking him, and he's treating me like a queen, like I should be treated. And I moved on. And I just listened to her and I said, good for you. I'm just going to use another name here. I'm going to say, good for you, Sandy, because Kevin has moved on too. When I said, because Kevin has moved on too, she froze, Bree, in her face. She froze. Now, if she was over him, good riddance, good for him. And people, how we do with our hands, ladies. Good for him. Good for him. She froze. Why did she freeze? The moment I said he moved on. Now she's wondering, with who? He doesn't love me anymore. See, sometimes we can say the thing, but your brain, that subconscious mind says, listen, little lady, listen, little Linda, listen, little Bree, I'm not going to go down with you, because the part of the brain called the amygdala is also known as the truth brain. It's not going to lie. It's going to send the signals to every part of the body. That's why when someone is telling a lie and you're saying to me, are you absolutely telling me the truth? Does this outfit looks great? And you're saying, absolutely, it looks great. It does. And you're shaking your head. You're shaking your head side to side, because the brain is saying, wait a minute, you want me to lie, but I'm the truth brain. I can't do this. I'm sending the signals right to you. Oh my goodness. That's why we get that ding, because the incongruency. And then we say something like this outfit you don't like it, because of that incongruency. And you're shaking your head side by side. Yeah, that really looks good on you. It really does.
The body can't lie. The body can't lie.
The body can't lie. You can see me, but yeah, that really looks good. And don't let your eyebrows go down. Please don't let the eyebrows go down, because now you're like thinking, ooh, that thing is a little too tight. You're a size 15. I know that's a size 4, ooh, but that's your color.
We're so completely wired together. Everything is so integrated. And this is part of why I find fitness and working on posture and alignment to be so powerful for helping women develop confidence, because as you start to open your chest, bring your shoulders back, even using that posture, bring your head and neck up, like sitting relaxed, stretching your hips out, all these things help open up what we've learned are the power centers of the body. And if we're constantly working at the computer and our head and neck are rounded forward, our shoulders are rounded forward, everything is in front of us because we see in front of us. It's how the body physically works, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that without the awareness of developing these sort of closed off postures, these rounded forward postures, without the awareness and the strength to bring our body back into a straight and open and upright position, strengthen those weaker back muscles that sometimes become weak from not being used. We unintentionally perhaps take on body postures that make us appear to be closed off. And I think that because our mind and body are so connected, when our body is physically closed off like that, it can impact your thinking state. It can make you feel less confident. And vice versa, as you start to develop stronger posture and more body awareness, you will become more confident. I don't know if this is a proven fact or not, but
it's true. You know what? Listen, mind over matter. Whatever you think about, you be about. So think about if you say and speak, it's going to be one of those days. We even pick clothes out of our closet to match our mood.
Yes.
To match our mood. Mm-hmm. So that's why when you work out and your body is fit and everything's in sync, the mind is sharp, you have that clarity, you're feeling good, because what happens on the inside is going to impact what happens on the outside.
Yes.
And if you don't have that strength, the next thing you know, it shows weakness even in your vocal tone. It's very, very critical. And when you have that fit, beautiful body, then guess what? The confidence goes with it.
But even if you feel like I'm not fit enough, I'm not beautiful enough, you can still harness that confidence in yourself by working on just your posture alone. Are there such a thing as power stances? Like, can people actually stand in ways?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want every woman out there listening right now, stand up, and I want you to put your hands on your waist and put your feet shoulder width apart, and you get into your Wonder Woman pose, head up, and you open up that chest, and you imagine that you're about to soar. See the difference when you do that. If you close yourself off, shoulders down, head down, your mood and your body language is sending a message to the brain. Okay, are we supposed to be depressed Are we supposed to be expressing joy? Are we supposed to be sad? Or we're supposed to be jovial? What is this? So your body is very, very critical. Now, the reason why that's important, because others, and you look at some of your successful people, many of them lately have been getting into the gym because of the perception that we have over the discipline over our bodies. If we are disciplined in our care of our bodies, quite often in business, they look at that as a disciplined, sharp mind. Mm-hmm. Because just to have the control over getting up, making the commitment to work out, to do the walk, do the cardio, do the weights, that is a discipline. And so when you have that kind of discipline over self, then maybe that person can be a great leader. But when people look at us, if we are all out of sorts, and I'm not talking about those that are struggling right now with the weight. I'm not talking about the power that you have. I cannot have the power over you to I slave the enemy that's in me. Mm. And I've got to have that power over me. And so fit mind, fit body, and fit experiences are very, very critical. I'm telling you, it's important. I've seen family members. There was a study that was that I see family members, by the way, who stop exercising. Mm. And then all of a sudden, they start bringing in mentally, pains and aches and stuff that they really didn't have. It's more so psychosomatic. Because they're not moving anymore. And then when they start to move again, it's kind of like a car that's been sitting forever if you don't get out there and start it up. So it's when people look at me, they don't believe my age. And it's important because I want to take care of this body. Ladies, let me ask you this. Your body is the only thing you have. Your mind is that super neo computer. And the question I want to ask, and thank you, Bree, for making us fit. Thank you for making us fabulous. Thank you for making us fierce. Because the one question, you can buy a mansion, you can live in a mansion, you can live on the top of a mountain, you can stand at the Taj Mahal or skyscraper, but it doesn't matter where you go, your mind and body goes with you. And where else are you going to live? It's in your own body. Where else are you going to live?
That's powerful truth right there. And we're not just talking about the discipline when you're training regularly. We're talking about the self-value. We're talking about that you value yourself highly enough to do these self-honoring, self-loving activities like exercise. I mean, we are all different people in different bodies with different genetic material to create this beautiful vehicle that we go through our lives in, like Linda's talking about. And you take that vehicle with you everywhere you go, but you can't take it with you when you go. So we gotta live in it as long as possible in the healthiest state possible, and be in tune with our intuition, be in tune with the signals we're sending people, and also in the having this ability, this sort of secret language ability of reading the signals people are sending us and being able to discern and determine what those signals actually mean. I just so appreciate all of this. Really, this conversation in general is just really powerful, really helpful. And I wondered if you would leave our listeners today with a challenge, something they could think about maybe trying on their own.
Absolutely.
In the future.
So, and as I give you this challenge, I want you to remember there's a communication theory that was done well over 50 years ago by Dr. Maharabi. And in his study, and in one-on-one communication, small groups, he found in his study that our words are 7% of our communication, that our tonality is 38% of our communication, and that our nonverbal is 55% of our communication. So what if we don't speak the same language? Now the 7% is gone. Now you've got 93%. There's a saying that goes, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And to the millennials out there, I'm going to do a remix. It's not just what you say and how you say it, it's what they hear. Mm-hmm. So if I said to you, I saw Steve and Sandy at the mall the other day and they were alone, you're thinking big deal, just from my tone alone. But if I said to you without even looking at me, listen to my voice, I saw Steve and Sandy at the mall the other day. They were alone. Same words, different tone. Wow. So your words are powerful. Your tone is powerful, but the body language is critical. So here's what I want you to do. For the next 2 weeks, maybe 30 days, if you're bold enough to do it, I want you to be able to look at everyone that you meet. And I want you to practice becoming a tone master. T-O-N-E, your tone master. Practice working on your tone. For those of you drivers, A personalities, and you're really sharp to speak fast and you're quick, practice modulating your tone. Practice a serious tone, as if you're doing a meeting, or you're doing your presentation and you're trying to persuade, or you're selling. Practice that tone. Practice the tone as if you are speaking to your lover. Practice the tone as if you're trying to comfort a friend that's going through a rough time. 3 different tones that I want you to practice. And on top of that, I want you to be aware as if your body language is congruent with the words and the tone.
Woo!
Wow.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. I'm going to take that challenge. I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much for bringing our awareness up and leveling us up in this way. This has been such a fun conversation. And I want to make sure that our listeners know how to find you. And of course, we're going to have links to you in our show notes page, but tell us about your offerings and where to find you online, because
Absolutely.
we just love to find you.
Well, thank you. And again, I came to serve and love to serve even more so. But my Instagram, at Linda Clemons, my LinkedIn, at Linda Clemons, my website, lindaclemons.com. And it's Clemons with 1 M. Just imagine the word lemons with the letter C in front of it. I'm not sour, I'm sweet.
No, it's like your 4 C's. It's like it belongs there. I love it. You're the 5th C, Linda, and you're 4 C's.
Thank you. And just thank you for this wonderful platform of serving so many people that may not have the opportunity to get access to such great, authentic information. Because you are true to yourself. And every morning you get up, you don't have to remember what you did yesterday, because you wake up in your own true being. And I appreciate you doing that.
I appreciate you as well. And I appreciate all of you listeners. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to hear how you do with Linda's challenge, and I encourage you to look her up and learn more from her. Be sure to check out the show notes page at thebettyrocker.com/podcast for the play-by-play of this episode, along with direct links to the things we mentioned in the show. You can leave me a comment or question there as well. Now, coming up next, I'm talking to Amisha Klawan, an embodiment and sleep coach, yoga therapist, and integrative physical therapist. She applies many aspects of women's health in her practice, including polyvagal theory and hormone health, and draws from her integrative physical therapy expertise in the areas of visceral mobilization and holistic care for the whole person. We'll be getting into many practical tips you can use in your life to invite in more balance, deeper rest, and more self-love. I'm looking forward to sharing that conversation with you. So until next time, stay connected with me on social media and the new articles that come out weekly on my blog at thebettyrocker.com. As always, I'm Betty Rocker, and you are so awesome and amazing. I'll talk to you real soon.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Brie Argettsinger, Betty Rocker Inc., and the producers disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. Before starting a new exercise, fitness, or health protocol, or if you think you have a medical problem, always consult a licensed physician.